started watching Adolescence. Now, have you seen this? It's on Netflix. I'm 2 episodes in. It's become one of those shows, rather like the Post Office show, but very different. More than 25 million people watched the show in the first 4 days after it was released. It seems to have gripped the whole country, particularly parents of boys. So let's have a look at a clip from the first episode that basically sets the scene.
Why were you following her, Jamie?
Dad.
Answer the question, son.
She's walking past the crossing at Forbridge Street at 9:46 p.m. You can clearly see that here. Everyone can see that, right? And at 9:47 p.m., same place, walking in the same direction, is you, Jamie. So you were following her. I ask you again, why were you following her?
I wasn't.
Did she know that you were following her?
I wasn't.
Is there some sort of problem between you two?
No.
Jamie, mate, it's not just gonna go away. You sure you don't want to tell us what happened? You're gonna have to say it sooner or later.
I haven't done anything wrong.
So that's the interview by the police, obviously, and then they produce CCTV. This is not a spoiler, it's episode 1, where he clearly stabs a school girl in his class or whatever, and then we're trying to work out how and why and all of that. And, yeah, it's just how, I suppose, he thinks it's all a game, or he doesn't realise he's actually ended a life and he's going to go to prison, and his dad can't believe it, and everyone's getting sucked into this horror. The Prime Minister was asked yesterday if he was watching it and whether he thought it should be shown in schools.
Talking about Adolescence, the series by Knowsley's own Stephen Graham and Christine Tamarco. It highlights online male radicalisation and violence against girls. The creators of the show are calling for screenings in Parliament and schools to spark change. So will the Prime Minister back this campaign to counter toxic misogyny early and give young men the role models they deserve?
Yeah. Prime Minister. Yes, and at home we are watching Adolescence with our children. I've got a 16-year-old boy and a 14-year-old girl, and it's a very, very good documentary to watch, or drama.
It's very rare for a Prime Minister to reference a TV show like that, Owen, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. TV, though, can have such a unique way of making people think about issues. I mean, you know, a classic example was, I think, Hillsborough. I mean, I know it's a different issue, but, you know, it highlights issues in society in a way that can emotionally resonate and connect with people. And there is a problem with some young men. It's only a minority of young men who are being radicalised in this way, but that's a lot of people who can do a lot of damage. The Andrew Tate phenomenon. You know, we saw recently you know, I mean, I know he's not adolescent, but the killing of, what's his name, the sports presenter, just such a hideous story. With his wife.
Sorry, John Hunt's family, Hannah, yes. Louise, and his wife Carol, killed by Carl Clifford.
But we know that I know he's older than an adolescent, but he'd watched Andrew Tate content online. And, you know, that phenomenon of often young men who are from economically quite insecure backgrounds, who are kind of lured in with this, you can get rich by doing nothing. You can just become rich and you should see your value in that way. And it becomes this...
It's not really by doing that. With Andrew Tate reference, he actually says you can get rich by just using women in a sexual way.
There we go. So the point is, there's the rabbit hole of just seeing women as subhuman, as...
objects.
Exactly. And being male is about violence and aggression and dominance.
And we saw at Southport, Axel Rudikabana.
And one shortly after that took...
Similar thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But because I'm only on episode 2, I don't know the extent to which we're going to get into a sort of incel thing, but it seems as if he was being teased as an incel and he felt he had to prove himself, and that's where it all goes very badly wrong.
And so many people are unfamiliar with the term incel, what it means, and the growing, you know, online groups that subscribe to this sort of nature of incel behaviour. And the definition of incel is when men aspire to having women or a certain type of women, and they believe that they can't get that woman, and they've tried, and lots of men are not having as much sex as they used to, so they get really angered towards women, thinking you owe us something and you're not giving it to us.
Those men are not having sex as much as they themselves used to, or as much as men did generally 50 years ago?
Well, there's been a huge decline in sexual activity in general.
Has there?
There has.
Younger generations, Gen Z, Jen said no, they drink less, they take fewer drugs, and they have a lot less sex.
But that's because of the inability to go out and communicate, and everything is done online.
Right, OK.
But this is like terrorist... We should say, like, terrorist radicalisation.
Well, the first time I heard the word incel, which is short for involuntarily celibate, it was actually, I think it was Montreal. A guy went around stabbing people with a knife, and there was, is it terrorism? Oh, no, he's an incel.
Do you know what... Well, I mean, it is... I mean, this is a problem. It's often a white guy, and then it's not terrorism. But the thing is about the incel, why it becomes racist as well, I don't know if you know the theory behind that is pushed, is that the idea is like immigrants, men who are seen as more dominant and more attracted to women are displacing Indigenous men and stopping them from being able to have sex with women.
Okay.
So it has all sides to it.
OK, so Adolescence is a must-watch if you've got a chance to see Netflix.